The moment is now. Are you ready?
Let's play Armis. Okay. It looks like the computer needed a little bit of help to populate the setup. This is clearly not a legal setup because the pieces are not arranged contiguously. I'll just click here to show you. It says pieces must be arranged contiguously without holes. This is considered a hole. Well, it's not really a hole. It's just that the pieces are not contiguous. So if we just connect it like that, it's acceptable. However, I want to make a couple of customization changes. Let's see. In fact, let's get a little better. Put it like that. Now, just so you know, the computer apparently doesn't read this as a proper setup because this is not considered attached. Clearly, they are attached and should be considered as a legal setup. I'll click here and see if things have changed. And apparently they have not. So I'll keep it so that the computer can read it as a legal setup by putting the submarine over here. Now, one thing I forgot to do is to check to make sure that my Marines can cover all of my pieces. Well, clearly, since the Marines are gathered over here, they can cover these pieces. Again, the Marine has a reach of 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. So the furthest one opposite of the Marine is the jet, and it can reach the jet. So it is a setup that I would have gone through with anyhow. With my opponent's Marine on coastal waters, I want to try to put my Coast Guard into coastal waters and chase it off of coastal waters. If it goes into the expanse area, again, my favorite move, or my favorite move for that action, is to use my army and one of my executives to chase after it. But that's only when I get one of those in the expanse area. Now that there's heavy Marine traffic in this area, that might not be such a great idea. But let's get this Marine over here, so that again, what I want to do is to use, now both of these Marines are in line to get my Coast Guard, and they're both in line to get, let's see, 1, 2, 3, to get the submarine. But my submarine and Coast Guard have double coverage by my 2 Marines. So right now, if my opponent starts a skirmish, I will end up finishing that skirmish. Well, I was just going to use my Marine, but I don't need to do that. I'm going to use my helicopter. Now, if my opponent uses its Marine to capture my helicopter, my Vice President will follow through and capture that Marine. In my estimation, a sea vessel on land is not as valuable as a sea vessel in waters. Whether it's coastal waters or deep waters, it's worth less on land. Obviously, if it's a deep sea vessel, it needs to be on or in deep waters in order for it to have its maximum abilities to realize. at this point, it's time to put the chase on my opponent's Marine. I might have one Marine go in this direction and the other Marine go in this direction to cover for my Army and Vice President or President. Okay, right now my Marine and Vice President is covering my helicopter and my jet. So I don't have to worry about either one of those two pieces. Now my President got in front of the Vice President in terms of the coverage onto the jet, so it's providing coverage onto the jet. Now my opponent will likely either go towards this side to hide from the unlimited straight line threat that's provided by my President. Alrighty, I'm going to use my Army to try to chase down this this Marine, thinking to have my next move will probably end up over here. Not exactly sure. Right now it's not directly threatened, so it doesn't have to run. Now I want to try to get my Army in this direction, so as to cut off the Marine. Now, if I put the Army over here, it's covered by the helicopter. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then at that point, the Marine will more than likely be very close to trapped. It might still be able to come in this direction. Wow, okay, it got out of the trap. Let's see, what can I do here? I can go here. That's the first time that I've seen the Marine retreat. But it's a good thing to retreat, because that's the way you save yourself. Come back to your setup zone and try to regroup to mount a new offensive. Now it has all of these coastal waters that it can go on to. Wow. All the way on the other side of the board. That's great. Alright, so now that threat is over with, or should I say that chase is over with, I can now mount my own offensive. Most of that, even though I was chasing the Marine, it was all more of a defensive mechanism than an offensive mechanism. At this point, defensive meaning I was protecting my territory. For the most part, 6 boxes up from the flag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to here, I pretty much, this is my setup zone that I should be able to feel comfortable in. And once that's breached, then I really need to go from neutral or offensive to defensive. Now, with his Coast Guard here, you can go 1, 2, and that's it. So that's the extent of his reach. But now I have to be mindful that the Coast Guard, unlike deep sea vessels, can't move out of coastal waters. Once it's in coastal waters, that's where it stays until it's off the board. So now I'm going to try to use my my Coast Guard to chase after the Marine. I forgot to look at my opponent's air forces. But I lucked out. The jet is not in the flight path of my Coast Guard, nor is the helicopter in the flight path of my Coast Guard. So I'm fine right with that. Going this way, if I got lucky and got the Marine, if I got the Marine, I would be okay with my Coast Guard getting captured. Alright, let's see here. Alright, we already know that these two are covered, and these are covered. The child is covered right now by the helicopter. I'm going after the nuke, and then it's covered, but not covered well, because at this point there's a double threat on the child. But the child has fulfilled its duties, so if my opponent takes the child, it would just be doing my opponent bad measure, because it would lose its diplomat and its religion over taking my child. So it might not want to do that. My child can't do much more damage other than try to act in a blocking capacity. Alright, I'm thinking about moving my one of these Marines in this area, but I need to make sure that I stay away from the flight path of the Air Forces. And then at the same time, I need to stay away from that Coast Guard, which can move 2 spaces. If I go here, the helicopter can go 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it has to land here, but it would take out space number 2. So that would be where its own president is at right now. If I go, let's see, and the jet, it's not in the flight path. So right now I'm safe in this position. The Coast Guard can only go 2 spaces, so it can go 1 or 2, so it can't reach out this far. So in this position here, if I take my opponent's jet, the helicopter can fly over. If I take my opponent's president, the helicopter can, well, I'm sorry, helicopter can't fly over. It would need to land. So since there's no landing, this would be safe as far as the helicopter is concerned. However, the vice president is here and covering for the president. If I take the, I can go 1, 2, oh, I can't reach. I can go 3 spaces, but I can only climb over non-offensive pieces, over my opponent's non-offensive pieces. I can climb over all of my own pieces, offensive or non-offensive, but I can only climb over my opponent's non-offensive pieces, such as the landlocked submarine, or the child, or the diplomat, or the religion. But in this position here, I can't get to the helicopter. I would have to go around the president. If I was able to go straight over or climb over the president, it would be a different story. 1, 2, 3, and I got it. But I would need to go around it. Now I need to again be careful, because let's see here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. here's what well, I was thinking about going here. I think that's a good move. It might tighten up my opponent's, it might cause my opponent to bring this army in this area to try to cover for this helicopter. Let's look at a couple of other pieces, see what my options are. Alright, I like that. I want to sacrifice my... Well, I was thinking about using my jet to go here to use as bait to get the president to take the jet, and then I would use my Marine to take the president. But if it didn't take the bait, then unless I had another move that would result in a capture, then that would be a waste of a turn. And I don't want to do that. Alrighty. Yep, I'm going to have to do that. Go here and see whether or not it responds with the army. If not, then I want to capture the helicopter. Now it could respond with any one of the other offensive pieces, but right now the helicopter is in danger. It's not covered. Alright, now let me get one of these deep sea vessels into coastal waters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's I didn't even look first. I should have looked first, but it's safe anyway. Alrighty, let's see here. Alright, got that in there. I'll consider using that as a bridge. I think I'm gonna try to run my my VP up in this area and use that as bait. And that's a pretty good bait. So if I can get my VP over here, then it is very likely that the president will take the VP, and then I can take the president and then maybe some other pieces afterwards. Now, a lot of times when your opponent moves the diplomat or the child, particularly the child, it's going after your nuke. And in this case, I can use the nuke to board the aircraft carrier to hide from the child and or the diplomat. I don't think I'm going to need the nuke anyhow, so I'm not going to go through extra efforts to make that move. Now, okay. Earlier on I was looking at that media, and because my helicopter, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4 and take out the aircraft carrier. And if you noticed earlier, my opponent moved the mover, which I thought was because it wanted to try to launch the aircraft carrier, but I left that out of the equation for the moment. Now with this here, let's see. if I use the helicopter to go here, the computer will likely use the Marine to capture the helicopter over here. So that would be a good thing to do if I felt that it was worth it, and I don't really feel that it's worth it. So I'm just going to keep going through with the earlier plan, which was to use the VP as bait over here. And you know, before I use the VP as bait, I'll try it with the jet. The jet was no. We'll stay with the plan. We'll stay with the plan because there's still nothing that the jet can take if the president doesn't take the bait. Now, the overwhelming reason why my opponent will take the bait is because if it doesn't, then my VP will take his president. Okay. Now, having captured his president, of course, his VP becomes president where it stands. It's covering the jet, but it's still likely that the jet might make a move anyway. I don't like taking sea vessels that are already landlocked because remember, if all of his military, including his landlocked sea vessels like the aircraft carrier and the submarine, if they're still in place, then my opponent's reserve is unable to move. So if I take it off the board, then that just makes it closer to being able to move it. So that's why I don't want to really touch it. Now, let's see. He moved his army. If I was here with the jet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's not good. Okay. Alright, let's do this. Let's try to see if I can get the jet on board the aircraft carrier and try to use that to take out some of these guys that have been languishing on the coastal waters for quite some time now. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to move over here to get my jet on board the aircraft carrier. Now I have to be mindful of this jet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is okay, but this one is not okay. If I go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This space needs to be, whoa, okay. The Army on the Coast Guard. Okay, that works. And at this point, actually, that's a good move. At this point, it is threatening Army. His army is threatening my army, but my army is not threatening his army because it's on coastal waters, so my army can't go on to coastal waters. But his army can disembark off of the Coast Guard onto my opponent right here. So the question is, do I... Alright, if I go here, Alright. This game is getting a little bit... It's getting tough. It's getting tough. Let me retreat over here. It can go 2 spaces, 1, 2. Alright, so that's about as far as it can go. It can go here, here, or here. Right now these two have mutual coverage. If this moves over here, I'm glad it didn't. If it moved over here, then I would really have to consider a couple of different options. For right now, that's in place. The jet will go on to the aircraft carrier shortly. Well, I was thinking about using the child to go 1, 2, 3 over here. Well, no, gotta leave that alone. Alright, we'll go through with that plan. Now 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm in that space, which obviously I can clear out of at any time. And I think 1, 2, 3, 4. This space was not good, but I can go here. No, I can go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and threaten the Marine. Okay, wow. Okay, let's see here. Alright, let's try to put a threat on the Marine first by going there. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4. If it doesn't move, I fly off of the aircraft carrier onto this space right here to capture the Marine. If that doesn't work, then I go here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I go here. No, this is the bad space. If I go here, it's too close. The jet has to fly further. Alright, I think in that space right there, I might be able to get trap the Marine. Let's see. If I go here, then the furthest out that it can travel is 1, 2, 3, here, here, back on there, here, 2, 3. Yeah, it would be trapped. And at the same time, my opponent's army is out of reach, out of range. So it can't use its army to capture my army. My army is covered by the president, and that's it. So there's really nothing more that the Marine can do other than to take my army, which it should have done, but I guess it's going to leave it up to its army to do that. Now, after the army takes this army, I then can move over here, because the main threat to making that move was the Marine that was over here. So now that that Marine is gone, this is now a safe move. So now I can take either the helicopter, which would be the best move would be to take the mover, because then that puts me in a position to take my opponent's reserve. with the helicopter. That will end up being a first for me. Well, apparently it's not going to be now. But if I take my opponent's helicopter, it is likely that my opponent will use the president to take the helicopter or not use it at all. And if it does use it to take the helicopter, then I'll use my Marine to take the president. If it doesn't take my helicopter, then I'll just take the president where it stands. Oh, no, I wouldn't do that because it's covered by the jet. And I just saw that. Anyhow, let's block up that that coverage. So now the jet can't land over here. And since it can't land, it's no longer covered. So again, more than likely the president will take the helicopter. But let's see what it does. It didn't do it. But it's still covering the let's see here. What can I do? If I use the child over here, it will provide a block. But let's just do this. Now at this point, I don't have to worry about the jet. I'm in line with the president, and at the same time, the reserve. Of course, once the reserve is gone, it's usually pretty easy to get the flag. Okay, so now I got the opponent's president. I'll be going after the reserve and then the flag in that order. My opponent's army is not likely to do major damage. It might be able to get one piece, and that's about it. But even if it does, I'll still continue going forward with the reserve and then the flag. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.
It will capture your heart and your mind. Let the whole world see us through your eyes. Land, air, and sea victory.